Welcome back everyone to How We Homeschool. So I just want to do a quick video of Bible study, character study. What we usually do is I really like Plants Grown Up for Young Gentlemen and Polished Cornerstones for the young ladies. And usually the early elementary years after they can start reading though. Until then, we usually just read Bible stories, books, things like that, children's books. But after sometime around late middle school to early high school, I like to transition them into doing character study on their own and learning to just take responsibility for their own Bible and character study. So I typically transition to Queen Homeschool. We love their character study, and I love their language arts series as well. So my children don't typically read the King James Bible. They usually have NIV or ESV or something like that. But I do just have a King James extra, very cheap, $1, or from the thrift store, again, for another $1, so that when they are doing the work in these books, the words can correspond correctly and they don't have to interpret what it might mean, things like that. So this would have been one that I got for my son. I also got this one for my son, and instead of buying another one, I just did it verbally with my daughter. So my son went ahead and did it written, and then we did it orally. This is another one, Excellent Spirit, character lessons from the life of Daniel. So I'll just give you a quick flip through. So they all generally are like this. She doesn't have any table of contents in her books. I wish she would go back through that, because that would be a lot easier for people. But it just starts off with like purity. What does this mean? Unfortunately, in the day we live in, purity is a word that has lost much of its original meaning. So she explains things. They'll do like maybe some dictionary work and what certain words mean. They'll also, he's defined these words and more definition. And then they'll apply scripture, what God says, what the world says. So there'll be a lot of back and forth. So chapter 3 would be like defining lust. Let's see. Lesson 7, avoiding a pattern of divorce. So she touches on a lot of really good topics as far as purity is concerned. Lesson 8, physical purity. Lesson 13, modesty, and she talks about men and women as far as modesty is concerned. Lesson 16, what about flirting? 18, male and female, what's the difference? So she gives scripture and then a little bit of talking, and then asks questions on what they can do. Let's see, lesson 27, guarding our eyes and ears to guard our mind. And so on, is until the end. I'm not sure exactly how many lessons. So we got lesson 40. So we would just do about one lesson every other day is what I would tell them to aim for, or one lesson a day. That would depend on them. And mostly during the time that they're doing the more of an adult Bible studies on their own, they've also taken up the task of reading the scriptures from front to back on their own as well. So that is part of their Bible study. This would have been for my son. Let's see. And it's just laid out exactly the same. Lesson 2, start training now. Let's see. I can't do this. Lesson 22, the practical side, how to lead. We've got a lot of scripture here, things that she's talking about. Caring for souls. Let not sin reign. God's instructional Manual, the Bible. Lesson 9. Lesson 8, the source of true strength. Lesson 7, get wisdom. So there's an example of that one. An excellent spirit, character lessons from the life of Daniel. So again, it's laid out exactly the same. Lesson 1, purposing in your heart not to defile yourself. So we did this orally in a co-op, and here we have copy work, copy Matthew 15:18, read Isaiah. Lesson 2, how do I purpose? Lesson 5, more about prayer. Lots of copy work. So you would need another notebook with this one, which is, I can't remember why we did it, but we ended up doing this in co-op. Lesson 14, the fruit of jealousy. Lesson 17, Daniel's dreams and visions. 16, God's protections. Lesson 20, 70 weeks. Let's see, I'm sure there's probably about, let's see, lesson 23 would have been the last lesson, the time and end and urgency of soul winning. So they're very short books. They're not very long. You easily could do 2 a year. And we just love Queen Homeschool Supplies for gentle learning, especially with the Bible curriculum and the language arts curriculum. So give it a try. You might like it. Thanks for watching.